Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Quick transparency, this is my fifth take on trying to make this possible. This ad before the video that you are wanting to watch right now, so I won't take up too much of your time. I just wanted to express how I made this all possible. I created the Paso Robles Podcast studio for people to be able to use as an outlet, as a platform. This show became possible because I found the need to put myself in the hot seat and have those conversations with people and promote them as well. So if you guys ever find yourselves in a need to start a podcast, I'm here to consult. I'm here to produce. Feel free to reach out, easyfmedia@gmail.com, or find me on social media anywhere pretty much. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. I don't want to keep rambling on too much. Thank you guys for watching. All right, so we're here at the Paso Robles Podcast with Beth McGill. Mm-hmm. And you have a book. So the podcast is about conversation. It's about getting to know you and you taking advantage and using this platform to promote yourself in whatever way you want to. But I know you have a book that I just got, and I'm definitely going to read it for sure. It's called Allow Life to Happen and Receive Everything You Desire. Now, that is a very ambitious statement. So I'll let you take the floor and talk us through what inspired this book, what inspired you, and how do you help people?
Okay, well, what inspired the book is having conversations with my higher self or my soul. Yeah. And I do that through meditation. And one day in meditation, I was told to write the book. I had already been given the title, Allow Life to Happen. It was October 27th, 2020. And I woke up to these words. I was sound asleep, and I woke up to the words, Allow Life to Happen. And later on, I was meditating that morning, and I discovered that was going to be the name of a book I was going to write.
Right.
But at that time, I was busy. I was doing other things. I had no intention of writing a book. It was never on my bucket list. It was not anything I wanted to do. And then on January 15th, 2022, I received another very loud message during my meditation. Uh-huh. It was drop everything and write the book.
Okay.
I'm like, oh yeah, that book I'm supposed to write. I really don't want to. So I had a conversation, and during my meditation, that went something like this: I don't know how to write a book. I don't want to write a book. But the message was clear that I was to write down what I had learned about manifesting on my spiritual journey and to share it with other people, and to do it in a way that was very simple. Mm-hmm. That anyone could read it and understand.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I took direction, and then I was led and guided along the way. So it was actually, it took 6 months.
Okay.
But it was a pretty easy process.
Now, what did you use as far as noting things down? Did you kind of notepad, sticky notes? Because obviously for me, when I'm thinking, I'm having conversations, whether it's with myself or with anybody else, if I don't note it, this is my way of noting it, right? The podcast. I'm going to just lose it. I can't grasp it again unless I'm in that similar situation again. So how did you start making those notes for yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm a teacher.
Okay.
And I create content. And so I have created, at that time, I had created about 3 or 4 different workshops and courses.
Okay, so
and
you're familiar.
So when I asked, where is the information coming from? It was go back to the work that you've already done. And then we're going to put that in order for you and help you and guide you. And so I used the content that I already had at my disposal.
Yeah.
And then put it together. And the way that I did it was I put every story, every quote, every concept on a sticky note. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I put a sticky note up on whiteboards. And that's how I was able to organize which way it was supposed to flow.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I'm actually curious, because you mentioned you heard somebody say, write the book, and it's called Allow Life to Happen. And then you didn't do anything for a couple of years, and then they're like, hey, seriously, you got to write the book.
Yes.
What got you to that meditative state, though? What inspired you to get to that point to be able to receive the message? This episode is sponsored by Valeria Hinoves with RE/MAX, your local real estate expert here in the Paso Robles and Central Coast. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, Valeria makes the process smooth, personal, and stress-free. She's bilingual, experienced, and ready to help. ¿Hablas español? Ella también. Call Valeria today at 805-212-6387 and let's get you a home.
Yes, thank you for asking that question. So I was a financial advisor and I was working full-time back in 2017, and I was really living the dream. I'm living in Morro Bay at this time. I'm surfing. I have a successful business. But I realized that being successful and having what seemed like from the outside everything wasn't enough. There was something inside of me. It's like, I know I'm a teacher. I know I'm a financial advisor. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. But these are roles. These are labels. And I had this intense feeling that I have to find out who I am. Not a label, but who am I and what's my purpose? Like, why am I on this planet? And a friend had introduced me to meditating. I wasn't sold. I was very much in the financial world, very left brain. I thought that's too weird. That's for weirdos to do. And so one day I thought, no, that's so opposite from my life as a financial advisor. And if this isn't bringing me that joy and fulfillment, then I need to try something different. And so I went out on a limb. I didn't call it meditating. I set my phone for 5 minutes. And I said, I'm going to practice being quiet. And that's what I did for 5 minutes. And I was like, God, who am I? And in that question and in that 5 minutes, I was able to listen, because I think we so often don't take that time. And that was fun. It's like, well, this doesn't work. This is really fun. So I did it again and again and again. And I did it for about 90 days. And every day hearing a different word when I said, God, who am I? And that really led me on a spiritual journey, understanding that I'm more than a physical person. I'm actually a spiritual being having this temporary physical experience. And so it opened up a whole new world for me at that time.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by Lion Pro Flooring. Give new life to your floors with beautiful, professionally installed flooring. Whether it's hardwood, luxury vinyl, or carpet, your home deserves a quality you can feel and craftsmanship you can trust. Serving Paso Robles in all of SLO County, Lion Pro Flooring is your local expert in transforming spaces. Call or text 805-712-3710 for a free estimate today. That's 805-712-3710. Lion Pro Flooring, when quality matters. When I was younger, I don't know why I think maybe it would have been spring, somewhere where there's sun, but there's like a cool breeze going through the window. And I remember sitting like at the edge of the bed and kind of looking outside. And the weirdest thing is, like, if it was a completely open space, I think it would have been different. But it was a window open, but with the screen still there. And I would kind of see the wind a little bit because it would move the screen a little bit. And I'd love doing that every once in a while. And then one day I heard a thank you. And I don't know who it was meant for. Maybe I intercepted, I don't know what. But when you're talking about like meditation and allowing yourself to receive these messages, it's just one of those things where like it does happen. And whether you're trying to or not, take that extra moment to like kind of digest it and like, go from there. But it's describe a little bit more on meditation, because a lot of people, like you said, don't take their time or don't take those 5 minutes. And they might give you an excuse like, hey, I have to go take care of the kids. I have to go make dinner and stuff like that. But then they can watch 2 hours of Netflix. It's just,
right.
So talk to me. Let's bring value to listeners and watchers. Like how to set that expectation for themselves a little bit.
Yeah, I think meditation looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
For me, it was that first 5 minutes of quieting my mind. And some people can't quiet their mind. And that's not a prerequisite. Like, you don't have to quiet your mind. It's setting the intention that I want to learn. First of all, I acknowledge that I'm more than a physical being, right? There's a spiritual side to me. There's more. I have a soul. And I think most people would agree that there's something more. I mean, our bodies, this world is so amazing. And for me, meditation really is understanding that there's more to me. And I can have the ability to communicate with that part of me. We're not separate. So it's really not a matter of quieting your mind, because I know some people are challenged with that, and that's fine. But it's setting the intention that I want to be able to communicate with me. And knowing, and the other part of that too is knowing that you're never alone. And I know some people can feel very lonely and sad and depressed, but when you feel and you can understand that you're not alone, that you actually are the spiritual being, and that you have support, and there's wisdom there, there's infinite wisdom. And you hear this all the time, but it's so true. All of the answers that you're seeking are within you. So to answer your question, for some people, meditation might be a walk on the beach. It might be going for a swim. It can be different for everybody. For some people, it might be just sitting quietly. For some people, it might be walking out of nature. But it's where you feel like you're whole, I guess is the best explanation. Mm-hmm. And I think that you have to be curious. You have to say, oh, I want to check this out, or I'm going to try this, or I'm going to do that. Yeah. I'm going to try meditating, or I'm going to try this, or I'm going to try breath work, whatever it is for you. And just get curious to see, how can I really feel close to my soul?
Right.
How can I get in a state where I'm listening? And I think for everybody, it's different. There's no right or wrong.
This episode is brought to you by Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street. Craving something delicious in Paso Robles? Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street has you covered. Enjoy tasty sandwiches, fresh salads, and smoothies like the Banana Nut Blast, my personal favorite. Kick back on the covered patio, sip on a cold beer and wine, and enjoy the easy parking. Order online for pickup or dine-in. And here's a treat. Use promo code PODCAST for $5 off your next order. That's PODCAST for $5 off your next order. Open daily from 6:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Rad Scooter Deli. Local flavor, fast and fresh. Yeah, well, I think one of the things that stand out for me is water. You mentioned the beach. You mentioned go for a swim. The rain. Nature itself is well, I saw a TikTok video where this dad was kind of testing the electric in his daughter's body, and on concrete, barefoot, there was like no charge, and then she stepped on grass, and there was a big charge. Mm-hmm. So like when they say like you got to go out in nature and recharge, right? There's actual scientific proof behind that.
Yes, grounding.
Grounding, yes.
So important. Just putting your bare feet on the grass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is that one of the things that helped you kind of get to a place of meditation? Or because I know you said 5 minutes and you enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. So from there, once you start enjoying it, you start thinking of other ways that it could possibly be amplified, right?
Yeah. So what I did is I started with my 5 minutes of just being quiet. Mm-hmm. And then I got curious. I wanted to find out what other types of meditation is out there. And there's like 7 or 8 specific different types. There's guided meditation. And so I did a lot of guided meditations where I went on and I found other people that were leading the meditation, and I listened. Dr. Joe Dispenza does meditations. There's quite a few people out there that offer these free meditations, and you can just listen and listen and listen. And for me, it was finding the right voice. And I did that for quite a while. And then I got to a point where I don't want to listen to anyone else's voice. And then I started listening to meditation music. And then it was like, what meditation music do I like? Do I like the flute sounds? Do I like the water sounds? And for me, it was like, when I was listening to the Himalayan, the sound bowls, mm-hmm. It's like that I could feel. Like I felt it in my heart. And I'm like, oh, that works for me. And so then I was listening to a lot of that. But I'm so curious about, and I try different things all the time.
Yeah, one of the things I like to do, and I think it's technology can be both a bad and a good thing, right? Just depending on how you use it. Mm-hmm. So there's times where, like, let's say I had a long day, I need 15 minutes to recharge. Whether it's there's a lot of concrete around here, so it's kind of hard to go on ground. But I'll put something on YouTube and put meditation for 15 minutes with an alarm. because at like at minute 5, I'm knocked out. So, and then I wake up and I feel like recharged. But like, there's frequencies that help you get to a certain point. You just have to put yourself in that situation. Because if you're constantly hearing noise from TV, that's not, that right frequency. Right. If you're constantly hearing music, that's not the right frequency. Because sometimes you find the right music and you just enjoy it, and that's because it's hitting the right spot, right? Or if you're having the conversation with people that annoy you, they're just not hitting that frequency the way you need to have it. So I guess my question is, how do you find that frequency? How do you help people find it when it comes to audible stuff?
Well, I do play around like you on YouTube and listen to all the different frequencies and hertz levels.
Yeah.
And it can vary day to day which ones resonate with me. But I can tell right away, ooh, I don't want to listen to that today.
Yeah.
No, that's not going to work for me. Oh, that sounds really good. So I think I would encourage people to play.
Okay.
To play with it. I think, again, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's just what is resonating with you right now.
This episode is sponsored by Del Pueblo Furniture in Paso Robles. Skip the credit card headache. Talk to Roger and get 0% in-house financing on quality furniture you'll love. Visit them at 1030 Railroad and 10th Street or call 805-239-5942. That's Del Pueblo Furniture. Comfort you want, payments you can handle. Y sí, se habla español. Just ask for Roger. Yeah. I've seen those videos where like it actually gradually changes. So once you find it, I hit pause and like that's the, for that moment or whatever. So with your book, Allow Life to Happen and Receive Everything You Desire. Talk a little bit about the book. What are you, and #1 bestseller? That's awesome. What do you expect from this book for people to gain?
So I really wrote the book to share my spiritual journey because I'm a teacher at heart. And so I include 30 different exercises in the book that really were pivotal to me in elevating my energy. And from bringing me from a place of life is happening to me to a place of where I create my own reality, right? So there's a lot of mindset shifts that go through that process, and there's work that's involved.
Yeah.
And you can say work, you can say play, but there's things that you have to do. You have to reflect. You need to, where am I in my mindset? And so it starts very methodically, I guess, where it's starting with #1, having awareness. Am I aware of my thoughts that I have? Am I a victim? Am I trying to live my life for other people? Am I shoulding myself? Do I do things because I think I should do them, or are they things that I want to do? So it's really being aware of how am I thinking in this life, right?
Yeah.
And then it's not only how am I thinking, but what am I feeling? Because realistically, we get to choose our thoughts because there's no one in our head thinking for us. Our thoughts, then we have a feeling depending on what thoughts that we're having. So if we're having optimistic thoughts, we're going to feel better. We get to choose that. But it's having that awareness. So many people get so busy, like you said earlier, they get busy, they're running around, they're going to work, they're taking care of their kids, and they're busy doing without taking time to really understanding what their thought process is and realizing that they're in control. You get to choose. There's no one choosing for you. And so it's in that first chapter, it's all about awareness. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And then those feelings dictate what actions I'm going to take, which then gives you the results that you have in your life. So it's getting people to realize that life is really a mirror. And so the results that you have in your life right now are simply due to your thoughts. So bringing it full back to thoughts, what am I thinking about? So there's many exercises in that first chapter. It's kind of a baseline, if you will. And then it goes to the second chapter where it's really about letting go. You have to forgive everyone, every situation, anything that's happened to you in your life. You have to forgive and let go. Because if you don't let go, you can't move forward. So it's almost like, I think it's Mary Morrissey says, it's like you have a foot on the brakes and you can't go forward because you haven't forgiven. You're literally stuck. You hear people say, oh, I feel so stuck. You hear people say that word and use that word all the time. Of course they are. They're stuck in the past. They're stuck in emotions and feelings of the past, and they're not allowing themselves. So when we forgive, it's actually for us. It frees us to be able to move forward. The third chapter is really understanding that everything is energy. Our thoughts are energy. Our feelings are energy. This entire world is energy. This room is energy. Everything is energy. And it's understanding enough about quantum physics to understand that, yes, matter can change matter, but our mind can also change matter. And that's how important our mind is. So it's understanding enough about quantum physics to know that it's scientific, it's been proven, and it's real. And then it's all about the fun, using your imagination to create what it is that you want in your life. And not thinking so much about what is, but what do I desire? And it's not just using your imagination, but it's actually becoming the person that's a vibratory match to what you want to manifest. So the only limitations that we have are ourselves. And we tend to get in our own way. So it's learning how to get out of your own way and using your imagination to create. And then it's about, again, the next chapter is about having control of all of that. I get to control that whole scenario, my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, my results, how much I want to use my imagination. And really taking responsibility for that, owning that I create my own reality. And then it's about believing in yourself. Really understanding that, no, I am a powerful creator. I have infinite wisdom available to me, right? And so throughout, it's encouraging people to meditate more and more and more. So by the time you get to that next chapter, you're really in communication with spirit and you're able to start to receive messages and start to feel that power that you have within you. And then it's about not just believing in yourself, but it's about loving yourself and accepting yourself unconditionally. And I find that when people are able to love themselves unconditionally, that's when you can actually manifest everything you desire.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I think one of the things that people have a hard time is making that first move to start. Mm-hmm. You know, you mentioned some things like if you start off with good thoughts, the day is going to go a little bit better. But if you start off with bad thoughts, the wrong side of the bed, mm-hmm. things are going to go bad. So you can train your mind at the very first few minutes of that day, mm-hmm. and set yourself up for more of a success, right?
Yep.
So one of the people I started listening to was Mel Robbins, and her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 theory, which is funny because I just heard another podcast where she was on, and she was explaining a little bit of how that happened. She was on a TEDx talk. She didn't even mention that theory until like the last 2 minutes, and then, all right, good night, everybody. Mm-hmm. And then for like a year, nothing happened. And then the second year, people started, hey, I've been implementing this in my life, and it's completely mm-hmm. changed the way I start my day. And she didn't hear it for the first year because people were using it, right? You mm-hmm. need to have the process. It takes time to get to a certain point. Right. So how do you help people set those benchmarks? Because everybody wants things instantly. Mm-hmm. So how do you set those expectations? This episode is sponsored by Santos Bros Plumbing. Are you in need of a dependable and effective plumber you can trust? Look no further than Santos Bros Plumbing, your trusted local plumbers in Paso Robles, California. Call them now at 805-360-4679. That's Santos Bros Plumbing.
So for me, you're right. That right when you wake up in the morning, that is a very pivotal time because of the state of your consciousness. So very first thing, what I do, again, I can recommend that people do things, but what I do and what has helped is that the very first thing that I do when I'm aware that I am conscious, that I'm awake, I say, thank you. Thank you for waking me up today. And with that is the awareness that I'm given this day. So number one, I say, thank you for waking me up today. Number two, I say, thank you for this physical body. I get to get up, I get to explore, I get to go for a walk, I get to surf, whatever it is I'm going to do. I'm appreciating my physical body, because without this, what have you got? And the third thing that I say, and again, this takes a few seconds, I say thank you. Thank you for the opportunities that are going to be available for me today. And so just with that 1, 2, 3, it sets that expectation of gratitude, which is a very high frequency, feeling appreciation, which is an even higher frequency, and then setting up that, I might not know exactly what's going to happen today. Maybe I have my day planned out, but even better things can happen. So I'm not limiting the universe. I'm totally opening up my day to whatever can happen. And so that's something that everybody can do. And then one thing that I've done is for 1.5 years, it's called the law of assumption. Neville Goddard teaches it or taught it. And the law of assumption, similar to the law of attraction, but you're assuming what you desire. And so what I did for 1.5 years in my journal is I wrote down things like, today is going to be a great day. I am going to let the universe bring to me whatever it wants. I'm going to be peaceful and calm, whatever it is. And so I did that for 1.5 years. After that time, I edited them, I rewrote them, and I put it into a 100 inspirational writing prompts. So if someone, like you said, has that hard time getting started, they can rewrite this short prompt that I've created, because sometimes they don't know how to do that. So they can copy what I've written. Today's going to be a great day. Today's going to be an amazing day. And there's about 4 or 5 sentences. They're all different. There's 100 of them. I send that out as a free gift. I want people to have access to that. Like, if you can't start out your day in a positive way, if you don't and have that assumption that great things are going to happen for you, then copy mine. And then after that 30, 60, 100 days, it's going to be a no-brainer. Your mindset is going to be shifting.
Yeah, and with that shift comes opportunity. And throughout the day, and I can see this conversation going in order, right? We got the setup, you got the grounding is what happens throughout the day. So what do you suggest, or what do you do to stay grounded, or to keep telling yourself, I am me, throughout the day? Because obviously there's gonna be a flat tire, they're gonna get your burger wrong, whatever it is that happens throughout the day. What keeps you grounded? What phrases can you say, or what things can you do?
Yeah, so there's an affirmation that I started using that I borrowed from Abraham Hicks, and it's, everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. And I used that specifically as a mantra throughout the day, as when I was still in a state where I expected it, I assumed it, but I was living it. It was my workshop. And so everything is always working out for me, whether it was a parking spot, or whether it was something bigger, an opportunity, or finding an editor. No matter what it was like everything is always working out for me. And that really secured me in this spot where I got to a point in my life where, of course, I always get the right parking spot. Of course, everything is always aligned. And so that was one thing. I don't need to use that affirmation as much anymore. I do sometimes, but now it's so ingrained in my mind, I don't even have to say it. It's more of a feeling.
Yeah.
Of course, everything is always working out for me. It just is. And so that's an affirmation. And affirmations, they need to resonate. So there are so many affirmations out there, but really find one that resonates, that stirs your soul, that really creates in you a feeling of more, a feeling of, this is my guiding light. This affirmation is what I need right now. One person that I mentor is using one right now. It's I see love and beauty everywhere. And in fact, she sent me a picture from here in Paso of the sunset. She was sitting in a hot tub. She goes, she sent me the picture and she goes, I see love and beauty everywhere. And so it can be very affirming. So that's one thing that I do. Another thing that I do, and I definitely teach, is that at the end of the day or the next morning, reflect on your day. What brought you joy? We so often are so caught up in everything that's happening, the flat tire, the burger that went wrong, right? But we're not thinking about the things that truly brought us joy. And what happens is when you reflect, so every morning I write down, it brought me joy too, whether it's having a conversation or the delicious meal or the bird that was dancing in the water outside of my window. It's like these things bring me joy. And I had three, and I really am intentional with writing down at least 3, 4, or 5 things that brought me joy every day. And it just keeps happening and it keeps happening. And what happens when you know that you're going to be writing that down every day, it opens up your eyes. It opens up your eyes for those things that really do bring you joy. Oh, I'd never noticed that bird outside my window before, but I'm going to watch it for a few minutes. I'm just going to sit here and watch it because it's kind of amusing. It's kind of making me laugh right now. This is a joyful experience. So it helps to create that intention throughout the day. It doesn't have to be anything big.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by Western Janitor Supply. They have cleaning supplies and equipment for any workplace. Call today at 805-238-2112. They provide an extensive line of chemicals, paper products, and floor equipment. Again, that's Western Janitor Supply, located in downtown Paso Robles. Yeah, I was over at Red Scooter on 6th Street the other day, and I usually have a coffee there, and I'll listen to a podcast while I'm having the coffee, and I saw a bird, picking up the scraps of food, and another bird kind of, I think it was like a rating ritual or mating ritual or whatever. And the other bird just kept following around, just flapping its wing, puffing out his chest, and I just found myself like entertained by it because it was one of those things where like if you weren't there in that moment, sitting down enjoying a coffee, just being there, you would have never seen this entire thing play out, right? One of the things you mentioned is to kind of recap the good things that happened. So now we're we're at the end of the day, right? One of the things I hear a lot is prepare yourself for the next day too, right? Set out the gym clothes that you're going to wear. Because if you don't set them out and you wake up, you're not going to think, oh, I need to exercise like I promised myself I would too. You set out that book that you want to read first thing in the morning. You preset the coffee. You do these things to set yourself up for success. What are some things you do at the end of the night besides the noting down of I enjoyed today or this brought me joy because,
I always make sure I'm prepared. I know what I'm doing the next day. I keep a paper calendar. So I know those things that are going to be taking place the next day. And where I use that is the next morning. So in the morning, because I know what's happening that day, when I get to that third thank you, I can reflect, oh, yes, I'm going to be a guest on this podcast today.
Yeah.
And so I can appreciate that and I can look forward to that. So I know what's going to happen during my day. Or let's say I have an energy session with someone. I focus on that and I focus on what that's going to be like. So again, using the law of assumption to always expect the best.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by the White Wave Wellness. Choose to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Wellness is more than being free from illness. It is a process of change and growth towards a mentally and physically healthy lifestyle. Reach out to Jennifer Hale to learn more about how this water can change your life. I think one of the things that I hope people watching, people listening realize, because one of the things I've told myself is to be more vocal about my thoughts or like my feelings and the good stuff, not the bad stuff. And one of the things I'm noticing is you have definitely dived into that world of you, right? You've put yourself in a situation where you've experienced yourself enough to where when you speak clearly. Because there's a lot of people I've heard who do try to do these things and they're regurgitating things they've heard online, YouTube, which is good. They're in the process. But I think you're at a point where your book would make sense for people to buy and learn from, right? So one of the things I like to say out loud is thank you for being you, for being the person you are, for sharing your story, for telling, the audience, and hopefully people are listening, not just putting on the background to support of you, But it's I can definitely tell like you have this energy of you or from you that goes, okay, she knows what she's talking about. Like that's a given. Because a lot of times, have you ever heard that phrase, fake it until you make it?
Yes.
Yeah. I see that happening every once in a while. You can kind of get that vibe here and there. When you identify, how do you help them, or how do you help yourself help them? Like, how do you navigate through that and when you're out in the real world? Because you're doing networking events and you want to bring as much value, but at some point you go, I can't help this person because they're not at that point there, which you have a tool to get them there. Right. So how do you approach that, or how do you, I wouldn't say avoid it, but how do you like navigate?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for thanking me. One of the very first comments when I published the book in 2023 was from a woman. She was in a different country, so it went global. And she said, just from reading the introduction, I can tell that you've laid out all of my homework that I've always wanted to do. And so that's what I love, that people can take that and see it not just as a book to read, but as a workbook. And you're right. I come across people all the time that energetically are not ready.
Right.
They're not at the same vibration. So you are getting me, you're resonating with me because you're at the same frequency.
Yeah.
Right? You get it. Some people are not. And I can't change someone's frequency. I can encourage them.
Right.
I can lay out practices and tools and resources. But every day what I do is when I'm meditating, I intentionally send out my energy to those people that it will resonate with. And if it's not going to resonate with someone, I can't make it happen. But I've had to learn to recognize that. So you said, yes, I do networking events. I meet with lots of people one-on-one. And I can tell very quickly if my message is going to resonate or help someone or not. And if it's not, I can tell within a couple of minutes. And we have a nice conversation. Maybe we're having lunch and I go on.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be at a deeper level, then I'm grateful that perhaps there's something that I can say that will help them on their journey to be able to go to the next step that they're on and really meet them where they're at.
Yeah. And I think for those who aren't ready, your book is a perfect opportunity. And plus, it's paper, so you can actually write on it, right? So the way it feels, like, and that's one of the things I noticed right away, because my wife went through the whole process. She made daily calendars and notebooks to just have, and people can buy those too. But it's kind of cool because you went through that process of putting your product out there,
right?
And one of the things I like is it's paperback, so it's very flexible. It's easy to carry around. You don't have this brick of a book, to carry around. So you made it easy. And the first thing that went to my mind is like, I'm going to make notes on it,
Well, and the one thing I didn't tell you is that while I was waiting to publish this and have it go through on Amazon, there was a waiting period there, and I created a journal. So there's also the Allow Life to Happen 129-day journal, where it's a series of quotes and affirmations that thematically go with the book. Okay. So you can use that to write in as well.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
There's a book and a journal.
That's amazing. So before we wrap things up, I wanna give you the floor, because whoever's listening 35 minutes in, they obviously are connected somehow, right? What's one affirmation you can teach them right now? And I'll give you a quiet 5 minutes to talk to them directly. And however they receive it, they can close their eyes and maybe park the car, make sure they're ready for it. So I'll give them a second. But what can you tell them today that will benefit them if they repeat that to themselves quietly, or when they're getting ready for bed, or when they're waking up?
So for the right person that's listening, the reminder is that I am a powerful creator. And so many people get caught up in being a victim. But again, life is happening for you, not to you. And that can be a big shift. That alone can be huge. So remembering that life is happening for you, no matter what it is, good things, bad things, and remembering that whatever is happening, you are creating it. And as soon as someone can understand that they truly are creating their reality, because we do. Whatever reality is in front of you right now, whatever reality you have in your life, you've created it. You might not have created it intentionally, but you created it. And so once you own that, there actually is a complete freedom that comes from that. At first, it might be, oh my gosh, I created this? But when you realize, if I created this, now I get to choose what I want to create. There's a complete freedom that happens in that moment when you own that you create your reality. So understanding and having that affirmation that I am a powerful creator will remind you of that. So I am a powerful creator. I choose my thoughts. I choose my feelings. I choose what actions I take. And whatever actions I take are creating my reality. So I am a powerful creator, and I get to choose.
Thank you for that. I'm going to let that sit with them for a little bit, and we're going to end the show now. Thank you, Beth McGill. And Allow Life to Happen is available on Amazon.
It is.
So they can type your name, Beth McGill, and they can find both journal and book.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.